So I already played lots of really neat and interesting games this year and want to talk about most of them. But if I wanted to do that by making a dedicated review or a video for every single one, it would take an eternity, considering my current speed of making videos. So in order to solve the dilemma and finally stop feeling bad about never talking about most of the games I actually want to talk about, I decided to make another diary entry of a video filled by micro reviews, one which you are watching right now. Consider this as a weird Walmart version of my favorite things, minus to talk about anime, YouTube channels, movies and music. Even though I could talk about some YouTube channels I started watching recently, or some of the new music I started listening to, which is something that I didn't do for like 2 years now, or about my movie watching habits this year, which are so far mostly composed out of binge watching slashers, whether they are great, good or bad, lots of really messed up horror movies, Jackass and Turning Red. But that's a different video for a different day. So at the start of this year, I was stressing and having meltdowns about my first college finals. Not a lot of fun, but even in the middle of that, I found some time to start my gaming year off with a bang. My experience with the immersive sim genre honestly isn't that extensive, being made pretty much only out of the modern Deus Ex games, Dishonored, and I guess you can count Bioshock as well, with games like System Shock or Thief being just way too old and cumbersome for a zoomer like myself. But I still feel pretty confident in saying that Prey might be the greatest immersive sim I ever played and probably will play. Tons of fun and interconnected mechanics, for example the item recyclation, glue gun, psi powers or mimics, surprisingly weighty and satisfying combat, fun side quests and little stories hiding in them, supreme atmosphere and soundtrack, unique sci-fi concepts, and probably one of the best designed video game settings of all time, all of them wrapped up in a sleek visual style. Arcane have a really specific talent for creating tons of complex, interesting mechanics, and then also making them feel really satisfying and simple to use, whether it's because of their presentation or the way they're integrated into its world. I love this game, and I didn't even go that much in depth into its powers or the really neat looking DLC. There's just something about slowly uncovering Talos 1, section by section, constantly adapting and improving yourself with each new obstacle and encounter, mastering its systems and mechanics. Is it an absolute masterpiece? Not really. Its conclusion and final hour is kinda meh. The last minute twist feels odd and its difficulty can bounce between almost impossible and way too easy, especially in its first hour or two. But I still loved it, and while there are already enough interesting reviews and essays about it to make my input not that relevant, I might try at least dipping my toes into Mooncrash in the future and see if I can make something watchable out of that, especially as a fan of roguelikes. But after finishing Prey, I still didn't feel like I had my fill. I felt like I could go for another immersive sim. And I'm kinda mixed on this one. There are several things I loved about Dishonored 1. Large open levels with lots of opportunities, unique universe and lore, and nice variety of cool feeling powers. But Dishonored 2 actually still has all of those. Its levels are these intrigue mazes filled with both obstacles and solutions for a current goal, but also a variety of details and side objectives. Its world gets expanded and refreshed thanks to its new setting and concepts, and the powers not only still feel really cool, there's more of them thanks to the clever inclusion of Emily as a playable character, her pool, shadow form or domino powers giving her a unique edge and different possibilities compared to Corvo. It also has an expanded combat system to allow non-lethal players more aggressive approach and a crafting system allowing for a deeper customization. So what exactly didn't I like? Well, it's something that goes beyond the core gameplay design. It's something more abstract and hard to describe. The story and pacing just never really grabbed my attention. I was never fully immersed. Dishonored 1 did this pretty well thanks to the structure of its first half and the following betrayal, introducing a well done twist and new main goal. But there was no equivalent of that in Dishonored 2. You just step or choke your way through until you reach the final level, which specifically also left a really sour taste in my mouth, as it's easily the worst one in the entire game. Its mood is way too dark and grim even on the non-lethal playthrough, its enemies are super annoying, it's very linear, and the final boss is a pain in the ass. I still had fun with this game overall. It's fun exploring and experimenting with its mechanics, and it's still one of the best stealth games out there. There is nothing wrong with the actual gameplay, just with the way it's framed. I didn't like it as nearly as much as I thought I would. Talking about that, probably everyone has a really popular, generally adored game that they don't like. They don't get the hype, don't understand what's so great about it, even if they love other games from the genre or even the same developer. And well, mine is Bayonetta. Game which I just randomly started playing on one boring Saturday afternoon and finished it the next day, so it must have done something right. Don't take me wrong, I don't hate this game. Its combat is smooth and fluid, most of its boss fights are epic and cinematic, its cutscenes are often hilarious. I just never got that grabbed by the story itself, again, not even mentioning several genuinely obnoxious sections. I know that those are really common complaints made even by Bayonetta's fans, but they were just bigger problems for me than to most people. Probably the biggest issue is simply the way combat works. Instead of having a small selection of moves which you need to fully utilize, you know, like in DMC, every weapon in Bayonetta has dozens of combo strings, each with different effects, and I honestly just didn't get invested enough to put that much effort into memorizing and practicing them. I might try another playthrough in the future just to see if I can get a different, hopefully more positive perspective on it, but instead of doing that right after I finished it the first time, I decided to repeat my prey approach and try another game from the same developer, one which has been collecting dust in my library for years now. This is a complete coincidence, but I finished this game just as it was starting to be a meme, and I love it, just as everyone else. Its environments and color palette are kinda bland, its combat can sometimes be a bit too button mashy, and its overall variety of moves and weapons is meh. But it's super cool, smooth and fun core mechanics more than make up for it. Not even mentioning its amazing cutscenes, music, boss fights, and mainly the way that music is implemented together with boss fights.
I finally found what I was looking for, a place where I can be without remorse. When the wind is low and the fire's hot, the vulture waits to see what rots. Oh, I'm ready. All the scenery, this is nature's sacrifice. There will be
Like, for real, this might be one of the best soundtracks of all time. Not even because of how great it sounds on its own, but because of how well it's edited and connected together with the action. It also has two pieces of DLC which don't get talked about as much, but in my opinion deserve the same amount of praise, as they introduce neat mini-campaigns with their own playable characters, and as with Mooncrash, I might talk about those specifically in the future. What did I play next? Oh, I also played a third character action game. Went into this one with a specific mindset. I'm the type of person that generally likes DMC and Resident Evil 6, so it can't be as bad as everyone says it is, right? Right? Awful combat in almost every single aspect, from moves, weapons and enemies to boss fights, balance and animation, boring locations and visuals, story that's barely present and doesn't make any sense, and mainly, complete lack of style and character, which is completely inexcusable in a Devil May Cry game. Where was I again? Oh, I also finished Yakuza Kiwami 2 and holy shit, this game kinda ruined me. I repeated the same mistake I did with Yakuza 0 and Kiwami 1. I left a lot of the side content to the very end, and then literally spent 2 days by doing nothing else than playing Yakuza. And don't take me wrong, this game is not intentionally designed to be an addictive, life-ruining time sink or anything, it's just way too good and entertaining. There's so much cool interesting stuff to do in these games, and Kiwami 2 especially. Illegal fight clubs, darts, karaoke, golf, an RTS minigame where you help the best boy protect his construction company, a host club minigame that is a fantastic sequel to the Yakuza 0 one, there's baseball, bouncer missions, actual fully playable ports of Virtua Fighter 2 and will show on. This, and then of course dozens of weird, funny and creative sub-stories, all of that with improved leveling, inventory and item systems, not even mentioning neat quality of life features, like removing most of loading screens thanks to its new engine, or finally being able to save anywhere, thank fucking god. If you think I'm about to do that thing where I say something like, but it's not perfect, and then talk about some of this game's weaknesses, you're exactly right. But it's not perfect. As every other Yakuza game I played so far, each story is generally and genuinely well written, presented, and full of super charming and likable characters, but it's occasionally just way too melodramatic, not even mentioning its occasionally god-awful pacing. Combat also doesn't feel as good because of the new engine, both normal moves and hit actions lacking punch and feeling kinda floaty, not even mentioning that a removal of style hurts the variety and sandbox of the encounters a lot. It's overall a great game though, and I can't wait to continue with this series, when I recover from finishing this one that is. Few quick fire ones. I finished Max Payne 2, which I really don't need to talk about anymore. I finished Aragami, which is a ninja sushi Dishonored on a budget. Valfaris, a highly challenging action platformer with the occasional sprinkles of bullshit all over it. Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion, which is a really funny, cute and weird Zelda-like about tax evasion and possibly a bit more. I also played and finished Axiom Verge and Cave Story Plus, finally starting my Metroidvania awakening. This is a genre I always wanted to get into, as the idea of solo exploring and opening up a world map with your new abilities just sounds really neat and intriguing to me. But I dedicated some time and effort into them just this year, and I love it so far. Both games have slow starts, and hiding the true ending behind a hidden non-decision is a dick move. But Axiom Verge has a really satisfying loop of slowly finding items, and eventually becoming a demigod I heard so much about perfected to the point. Combine it with a really charming and unique universe. And Cave Story Plus is just lovely. It's a really cozy and weird game in almost every single aspect, full of fun mechanics and characters giving me the Earthbound family of games feel. It's a typically indie cult classic. And who knows, maybe after I finish a third interesting Metroidvania this year, I will finally have enough for a video about my newfound love for the genre. And finally the hidden reason I'm making this video, and also the reason I took a break for gaming for a week or two. I also finally finished the rest of the Halo games I haven't played yet, which were 1, 2, 4 and ODST. All of that within 10 days, and I'm kinda mixed. I didn't hate or even dislike any of them, but each of them have few really annoying issues, which I necessarily didn't find in 3 or Reach. Let's just do this quickly. Halo 1. What the fuck even is library? Repeating levels, poor balancing overall, plus a lot of my favorite weapons and mechanics still aren't included for obvious reasons. Halo 2, lots of fantastic improvements in form of those weapons and mechanics I missed so much, but its last few missions are incredibly frustrating specifically because of brutes, not even mentioning the awful boss fights. ODST, fun and atmospheric, but really short and overall feels just like a DLC pack. Halo 4, looks and sounds great with really satisfying gunplay and nice mission variety, but really linear with less of a focus on sandbox. I like the Halo games as a middle point between two types of FPS games for me, a perfect balance between fun and arcadey action and something more tactical and strategic. Games where you need to focus on both aspects if you want to survive while being open to experiment and find a solution that works for your playstyle. Maybe binge playing 4 games in a row just wasn't the best idea, but its specific issues mattered to me more than I expected, and I came out from the entire experience tired and kinda frustrated. Hence the short break, moment of self-reflection and an idea to make this video. So, making this was honestly a lot of fun, and I would definitely like to do another video like this one in the future. Because there's still lots of games I'm currently playing or even near finishing I left out so that this video doesn't get too long. For example, 2 Shanty games, loving both of them so far. Doom, Devil May Cry 1, Beyond Good and Evil. I finally got into Monster Hunter World more, Borderlands 3 or Resident Evil 0. And there's still lots of games I want to finish this year, like Bloodstained, Crash Bandicoot Trilogy, Hitman 2, Fahrenheit, Vampire Masquerade, at least one of the older Tomb Raider games, Sleeping Dogs, Dandara, Yakuza 3, Hollow Knight, or, and this is the big one, as I really wanted to get into JRPGs more, Final Fantasy X. That's a lot of games, and I'm looking forward to all of them. I hope you enjoyed this project as much as I enjoyed creating it, and in case you did, please consider liking, sharing or even subscribing, it would help this channel a lot. My name is Bate, take care, see you soon, and I'll get back to playing again.
Another night, fade to black, the soundtrack to another night. It's the music of the rain and the city lights. Feel no pain, it makes the whole city bright. Without the sparkle of hype, it's just another night. And they all knew what it was from the first glance. No excuses, should have planned in advance, man.
Documented on Pro Tools or Tascam, struggling hustles of an ordinary black man.